I did not get kidnapped. No, I did not get kidnapped by Sean. Not yet, anyways. I wouldn't dare, Ling Huchong replied, while he thought in his heart, it looks as if Dongfang Bubai is still flourishing, which means Chief Run still hasn't snatched the leadership of the sect yet. I wonder how Chief Run, Brother Xiang, and Ying Ying are doing right now. Jiabu leaned to one side and indicated the wave of his left hand. Here are some meager gifts, small tokens of regards from Chief Dongfang. Headmaster Ling Hu, please accept them. Amidst the sound of flutes, more than 100 people brought forth 40 large red boxes. Each box was being carried by 4 strong men, and from the heavy steps of each man, it seemed that the items inside the boxes weren't light. Good morning, Ayush. Going. Oh, what's up, Orawa? Nice of you to join. Ling Huchong quickly refused. Ling Huchong is already honored by the presence of your two honorable. If I would never dare to receive these gifts. Also, please reply to Mr. Dongfang that Ling Huchong said many thanks. On this mountain, Hongshan School's disciples live frugally, but have a clean and honest life, so we have no use for these splendid and expensive items. Jiabu replied, if Headmaster Ling Hu doesn't accept these gifts, Xiang Guangyun and I will be in big trouble. He slightly tilted his head towards Xiang Guangyun and said, Brother Xiangguan, don't you think what I said was right? It's right. He's eagle, right? What does an eagle sound like? He's right. Okay, I'm gonna give him a really high voice. He's right. He's right. It's right. Zhang Guanyun answered. Ling Huchong was troubled. He thought, Hangshang School is an orthodox school, and we're like water and fire with your devil sect. It's already good that the two parties aren't fighting right now, but we still can't make friends with them. Also, Chief Run and Ying Ying are going to settle their debt with Dongfang Bubai, so how can I accept their gifts? He then said, Brothers, please tell Mr. Dongfang that I don't dare to receive his gifts. If you didn't agree to take back these gifts, if you don't agree to take back these gifts, then I'll send people to deliver them back to your noble sect. Jiabu smiled slightly and said, Headmaster Ling Hu, do you know what's in these 40 boxes? Of course I don't know. Jiabu laughed and replied, Once Headmaster Ling Hu looks at it, you surely won't refuse it. In these 40 boxes, actually, they're not all gifts from Chief Dongfang. A portion of it actually belongs to Headmaster Ling Hu. We're just bringing them up to return these items to their original owner. Ling Hu Chong was surprised. My item? What could they be? Jiabu took a big step forward and replied in a whisper. The majority of these items were the items left behind by young Lady Ren at Darkwood Cliff, such as clothes, jewelries, and other common things. Chief Dongfang told me to send them back for young Lady Ren to use. And some of the other gifts are Chief's gifts to Hero Linghu and young Lady Ren. Many of the items are mixed together, so they can't be separated. Headmaster Linghu, there's no need to be polite. Oh, I'm free to go now? Yay. Thanks, Sean. Thank you for not tying me up. Ling Huchong's natural disposition was very open-minded, carefree, and didn't confine himself to custom. Seeing that Dongfang Bubai had sent these gifts sincerely, and many of the items also belonged to Ying Ying, he didn't refuse them anymore. He laughed loudly and said, In that case, many thanks. Just then, a female disciple came quickly towards him and reported, Wudang School's priest Chong Shu has come to attend the ceremony. Oh, is this the leader of the Wudang School? Surprised, Ling Hucheng quickly walked towards the entrance of the mountain peak to welcome priest Changshu, who had come with 8 of his disciples. Ling Hucheng bowed to salute him. Honorable priest, Ling Hucheng is deeply grateful. Chief Changshu smiled. When poor priest heard of you becoming the headmaster of Hangshan, I was really happy. Shaolin's great master Fengsheng are also coming to congratulate you. Have they arrived yet? Ling Hucheng was even more confounded. At this moment, there were a group of monks walking up towards the mountaintop. The 2 people walking in front had their sleeves floating around. They were Abbot Fengzheng and Great Master Fengsheng. Fengzheng called out, Priest Changshu, you walked really fast and arrived here before us. Ling Hucheng went down the mountain to welcome them. He called out, Great masters have come here personally. How is Ling Hucheng worthy of this? Fengsheng laughed. Young hero, you had entered Shaolin 3 times already, and yet this is just our first visit to you here at Hangshan. So it can be said that we're just respectfully visiting each other. Ling Hucheng welcomed the Shaolin monks and Wudong's priests up the mountaintop. When the group of heroes on the mountaintop saw that Shaolin and Wudong schools' leaders personally came, they were astonished and didn't dare to speak so loudly. All the Hangshan schools' female disciples appeared pleased, and they all thought, Martial Brother Headmaster's reputation is so large. Alright, so this is a pretty big deal. Like, the heads of the 2 biggest schools come up to celebrate this guy's coronation ceremony. Jiabu and Shang Guanyun gave a glance, then turned a blind eye towards Fengzheng, Fengsheng, Chongshu, and the rest of their people. Ling Hucheng asked Great Master Fengzheng and Priest Chongshu to take a seat while he pondered. I remember when Master became the leader of Huashan, the leaders of the Shaolin School and the Wudang School didn't personally come, they just sent their people. I was still young at that time and didn't know any of the guests, but when Master and Master Wife talked about what was happening at that time, they never mentioned the presence of Shaolin and Wudang School's leaders. Today, they both arrived at the same time. Did they really come here to congratulate me? Or do they have other intentions? A stream of people continued coming up the mountain. Most of them were the heroes who took part in attacking Shaolin. Kunlun School, Danchang School, Eimei, Hongtong, Baker Clan, and all the other big clans sent representatives to congratulate and deliver the gifts. When Ling Hucheng saw that the number of people who had come up to congratulate him was quite large, he felt relieved. They've all come here because of the Hangshan School and Dingxian Shutai's reputation. It's not because of me. Dongshan, Huashan, Hangshan, and Taishan schools didn't send anyone to congratulate him. Oh. So the rest of the 5 mountain sword alliance did not send anyone. They mad. As the thunderous sound of firecrackers went off, marking the arrival of the auspicious hour, Ling Hucheng stood in the middle of the field and bowed, saluting everyone around him. Then he said in a clear voice, Hangshan School's former leader, Dingxian Shutai, sadly met with someone's plot, and together with Ding Yu Shutai, she passed away. I, Ling Hucheng, bear the last wish of Dingxian Shutai to take up the leadership of the Hangshan School. Everyone in Hangshan School feels grateful for the presence of all the honorable seniors and friends here. Then, accompanied by the sound of cymbals, Hangshan School's disciples lined up in 2 rows, one after another. In the middle were 4 of the most senior disciples, Yihe, Yiqing, Yizhen, and Yiji. Each of them was holding a Buddhist relic. They walked up to Ling Hucheng and bowed to him. Ling Hucheng joined his 2 palms, returning the respect. Yihe said, These 4 Buddhist relics were passed down by ancestor Xiaofeng Shutai during the inauguration of the Hangshan School. They are to be passed down to successive headmasters. New headmasters, Marshal Brother Linghu, please receive these items. Yes, Linghu Chong responded. Is this like putting your hand on the Bible and swearing an oath? The four disciples handed over each item accordingly. The items were a scroll of scripture, a wooden fish, a strand of prayer beads, and a dagger. When Ling Hu Chong saw the wooden fish and the prayer beads, he felt embarrassed. Remember, the wooden fish is not like a wooden fish. It's like a thing where, like the thing that monks tap when they pray. When Ling Chong saw the wooden fish and the prayer beads, he felt embarrassed. He extended his hands to receive them, but both of his eyes were looking at the ground, afraid to look at the eyes of the people in the crowd. Yi Ching unfolded the scroll and said, Hangshan School's is 5 commandments. The first commandment is to never disobey your superior. The second commandment is to never harm people in the same school. The third commandment is to never kill the innocents. The fourth commandment is to always be an upright person. And the fifth commandment is to never make friends with evil. These are the instructions left behind by the ancestors of the Hangshan School. Marshal Brother Headmaster must personally set an example and lead the disciples. These rules must be obeyed. Yes, Ling Hu Chong responded. He thought in his heart, the first 3 commandments are all right, but Ling Hu Chong isn't that upright, and this commandment to not make friends with evil people will be very hard to do. Today on this mountaintop, half of the guests here are people from the unorthodox path. Suddenly, he heard people coming up the mountain, calling out, 5 Mountain Sword Schools' Chief Jewel has an order. Ling Hu Chong can't usurp the leadership of the Hangshan School. They're trying to stop him. Remember the Songshan School, which is headed by Chief Jewel. They want to combine the 5 schools, and they don't think that Ling Hu Chong would agree to that, right? So of course they would not want him to be the leader of the Hangshan School. Amidst the clamor, 5 people rushed up, followed by tens of people behind them. These first 5 were each holding an embroidered flag, which were the alliance flags of the 5 mountain sword schools. They stopped tens of feet away from the crowd. Among those 5 people was a short and stout person with a yellow chubby face, looking to be around 50 years old. Ling Hu Chong recognized that person as Yue Ho, with the nickname Great Yin and Yang Palm. He was a good fighter from Songshan School. That day in the wilderness of Henan, Ling Hu Chong had fought with him and had pierced both of Yue Ho's palms with his longsword and caused a deep hatred between them. But Yue Ho was a gentleman. On another day, he ambushed Ling Hu Chong and managed to defeat him, but instead of killing him, he jumped back to give Ling Hu Chong a chance to fight again. For this, Ling Hu Chong felt thankful towards Yue Hu. Yue Ho? Ling Hu Chong immediately cupped his fist and said, Senior Yue, you are here as well. Wait, Senior Yue, you are well. Yue Ho waved the command flag and bellowed, Hangshan School is a member of the 5 Mountain Sword School Alliance, so you must obey Chief Zuo's order. After Ling Hu Chong assumed the leadership of the Hangshan School, we'll need to discuss whether we're still a part of the 5 Mountain Sword School Alliance or not, Ling Hu Chong replied. By then, all the remaining people had arrived on top of the mountain. They were disciples from Songshan, Huashan, Hangshan, and Taishan schools. The 8 disciples from Huashan were Ling Hu Chong's former martial brothers, but Lin Pingzhi wasn't among them. These people formed 4 rows and stood quietly while grasping the handle of their swords. Yue Ho said in a loud voice, The school of Hangshan must be led by a Buddhist nun. Ling Hu Chong is a man. How can he violate the school rules that had stood for 100 years at Hangshan? Rules are made up by people, so they can also be changed by people. This is our own sect's internal matter and cannot be interfered with by outsiders, Ling Huchang responded. From within the crowd, people started to scold Yue Ho. This is their Hangshan school's matter. What's that got to do with your Sangshan school? Your granny, quickly scram. What 5 mountains chief? Dog chief. How shameless. Yue Ho said towards Ling Huchang, what are these filthy people doing here? All these brothers are my friends. They're here to attend the ceremony. All right. Hangshan school has 5 major commandments. What's the 5th one? Yue Ho asked. Ling Huchang thought, you're deliberately trying to put me down, so I'm going to debate this with you. He answered, of Hangshan school's 5 major commandments, the 5th one is never to make friends with evil. Ling Huchang definitely would never make friends with people like Brother Yue. Wait, Brother Yue. When the crowd heard this, they erupted in laughter and shouted, evil disciples, quickly, scram. Yue Ho, along with the disciples from Songshan, Huashan, and the rest of the schools, saw the situation, and each one of them thought that the enemies were plenty, and they were few. If the enemies were to fight with them, they would be in big trouble. Yue Ho then thought, Martial Brother Zuo had lost this time. He anticipated that we only have to deal with a bunch of nuns and young ladies, so the disciples from the 4 schools would be enough to take control of the situation. Even though Ling Huchang's sword art is good, we would be at an advantage when there's no sword in his hand. The 5 of us brothers could attack him now, and we would certainly be able to kill him. Who would have thought that there would be so many guests up here, along with the leaders of Shaolin and Wudang? He immediately turned his body towards Fang Zheng and Chongshu and said, Seniors, you are currently the 2 top masters in Wulin, and people look up to you. Today I ask you to please speak a few words here. Ling Huchang had gathered so many demons here at Hangshan. Isn't this a violation of Hangshan School's commandment to never make friends with evil people? Hangshan School has lasted for so long and has enjoyed a grand reputation as an orthodox school. Everything would turn upside down in Ling Huchang's hand. Are the 2 of you just going to sit there and do nothing? Fang Zhang coughed before saying, this. He thought that what this person said was reasonable. The majority of people present here were people from the unorthodox path, but how could he ask Ling Huchang to tell them all to go down the mountain? Suddenly, coming up the mountain path, they heard a clear, crisp voice of a lady announcing, Divine Sun Moon Sex's Young Lady Run has arrived. Ling Huchang was happy and surprised at the same time. He couldn't stop himself from blurting out, Ying Ying has come. He hurriedly went towards the mountainside and saw 2 big men carrying a little green-colored sedan chair quickly up the path. Behind the sedan chair followed 4 maids wearing green dresses. When the people from the unorthodox path heard that Ying Ying had come, they rushed down the mountain to welcome her. They shouted their welcomes to her and crowded around the sedan chair as it came up to the peak. When the sedan chair stopped, the curtain parted, and a girl wearing a pale green gown stepped out of it. It was really Ying Ying. The crowd cheered, Sacred Lady! Sacred Lady! And they all bowed towards her, showing expressions of respect, admiration, fear. The joy they showed was genuine, came from their hearts. Ling Huchang walked up a few steps and smiled. Ying Ying, you've also come. Ying Ying returned his smile and said, Today is your big day. How can I not come? He then glanced across the crowd, walked a few steps, and gave her propriety towards Fang Zheng and Chongshu. Great Master Abbot, Headmaster Priest, I give you my respect. Fang Zheng and Chongshu returned her propriety. While they both thought in their hearts, Ling Huchang and you are on good terms, but you shouldn't have come today. You're just making things more difficult for him. Yue Ho said in a loud voice, This lady is an important figure in the Devil's sect. Ling Huchang, what do you say to this? What if she is? Ling Huchang replied. Hangshan School's 5th major commandment stipulates that you must never make friends with evil. If you don't sever your relationship with these evil people, then you can't be the headmaster of the Hangshan school. I won't be the headmaster then. What's so important about that? Ying Ying gave him a look. Both of her eyes were full of affection. He thought, just for me, you'd forsake everything. She asked, Headmaster Ling Hu, who is this person? Why did he come here asking about Hangshan School's matter? Ling Hu Chong answered, he was sent here by Songshan School's headmaster Zuo. In his hand is Headmaster Zuo's command flag, let alone a small command flag. Even if Headmaster Zuo had come personally, how can I just let him meddle in my Hangshan School's matter? Ying Ying nodded her head and agreed. Right. Her thoughts went back to that fight that occurred in the Shaolin Temple, where Zuo Langchan gave them a lot of problems by using the polar ice energy to heavily injure her father, and how her father came close to losing his life. She couldn't help feeling angry as she said, Who said that this is the Five Mountain Sword School's alliance flag? Here he's swindling people. She had not finished her words when her body swayed, and the flicker of a short sword was seen on her left hand as she stabbed it towards Yue Ho's chest. Yue Ho had never expected that such a delicate and beautiful lady would attack so viciously. She didn't give any hint beforehand that she was going to attack, and her attack was as fast as lightning. As her sword stabbed out, it was too late for him to pull out his own sword, so he slanted his body, avoiding the stab. But he didn't anticipate that Ying Ying's move was a false one. So, as he slanted his body, the grip on his right hand loosened, and his opponent snatched the embroidered flag. Ying Ying didn't stop there, but stabbed 4 more times at 4 flag holders, which allowed her to snatch all 5 flags. She used the same exact move for all 5 moves. The other 4 Songshan School disciples were all Yue Ho's martial brothers, and their bare hand martial arts were all good. Zuo Langshan had dispatched them with the intention of making a surprise attack on Ling Hu Chong using their bare hands. But Ying Ying's attack was too quick, and in a moment she had managed to snatch all the flags without them managing to attack back. Even though they had lost, it could be said that they were ambushed. Chief Zuo is a polar bear? Yes, he is. Ying Ying brought the flags over and turned around behind Ling Hu Chong's body. She said loudly, Headmaster Ling Hu, these flags are fake. These aren't the 5 Mountain Sword School's command flags. These are the 5 fairy sect's 5 poison flags. She then furled open the 5 flags, and everyone understood. On the flags were the drawings of 5 venomous pests: snake, centipede, spider, scorpion, and toad. The colors were bright. The pests looked alive. How could they be the 5 Mountain Sword School's command flags? Did she just do like a magic trick? Yue Ho and his group were stunned and didn't know what to say. Old man Zhu Qianqiu and their group of heroes were cheering loudly. Everyone knew that after Ying Ying snatched the command flags, she immediately hid them away and somehow exchanged them with the 5 poison flags. But her hand was actually too fast, and no one saw clearly how she did this. Ying Ying called out, Chief Blue! A beautiful meow girl walked out from the crowd and laughingly answered, I'm here. What's Sacred Lady's order? She was Blue Phoenix, the chief of the 5 fairies sect. Ying Ying asked, How did your 5 poison flags end up in Songshan School's hands? Yeah, Blue Phoenix laughed and answered, These Songshan School disciples are all good friends of my sex's female disciples. They must have uttered sweet words to swindle my sex's 5 poison flags. So that's how it is. I'll return these 5 flags to you then. Ying Ying then tossed the 5 flags to her. Blue Phoenix laughed and said, Many thanks. She extended her hand and grabbed the flags. Yue Ho was furious. He scolded, Shameless witch! What kind of demonical methods are you using to deceive us? Quickly, give us back the command flags. Ying Ying smiled. If you want the 5 command flags, why don't you ask Chief Blue for them? Yue Ho didn't know what to do, so he turned towards Fang Zheng and Chongshu. Great Master Abbot, Priest Changshu, you are seniors of noble character and high prestige. Please preside over this injustice. Feng Zhang stammered. This never make friends with evil. Hongshan School certainly has this commandment, but today these friends from Jianghu are coming to attend the ceremony. So Headmaster Ling Hu can't just shut the door and turn them away. That's just too disrespectful. Yue Ho suddenly pointed to a person in the crowd and loudly shouted, He, I recognize him as that rapist, Xiang Bo Guang. He's disguising himself as a monk. Are you trying to conceal yourself from my eyes? Are these kinds of people also Ling Hu Chong's friends? Then in a fierce tone, he shouted, Xiang Bo Guang, what are you doing in Hangshan? I came to pay my respect to Master, Xiang Bo Guang replied. Yue Ho was baffled. Pay your respect to Master? That's right. Xiang Bo Guang then walked up to Yi Lin and kowtowed a few times. Master, disciple pays his respect. Disciple is correcting my wrongs, and my Buddhist name is called Cannot Have No Commandment. Yi Lin blushed and slightly moved away, avoiding the kowtow. You. Ying Ying smiled and said, Master Tian is turning his head away from the demonical and returning to the orthodox path, and had also taken a master. That's really good. He has also become a Buddhist with the name Cannot Have No Commandments. This shows that he's sincere in his intention. Great Master Feng Zhang, the correct way is to abandon the knife and join the Buddhist order. When a person is determined to correct his ways, then Buddha will give this person a new path to tread on. Isn't this right? Feng Zhang happily replied, That's right. Cannot Have No Commandment has joined the Hangshan School and must strictly follow the school's rules from now on. This is really the good fortune of Wu Lin. Ying Ying then said loudly, Everyone heard it. We've all come here today to join the Hangshan School. If Headmaster Ling Hu is willing to accept us, then all of us will become the disciples of the Hangshan School. How can the Hangshan's disciples be regarded as evil? Okay, so it looks like they're all joining the Hangshan School. Suddenly, a flash of comprehension went through Ling Hu Chong. So, Ying Ying knew that I'd be embarrassed to be the headmaster of a group of female disciples. If there were a lot of male members in the school, then no one would be able to ridicule me. That's why she told all these people to join Hangshan School. He quickly asked in a clear voice, Martial Sister Yihe, is there any school rule that prohibits the school from accepting male disciples? Yihe replied, There's no rule that prohibits accepting male disciples into the school, but temporarily she couldn't get her mind to work. She thought that it was inappropriate for so many male disciples to be suddenly in the school. Ling Hu Chong said, It's very good that everyone wants to join the Hangshan School, but there's no need to pay your respect. Hangshan School will arrange a Hangshan other courtyard for everyone to settle in. That Tong Yuan Valley over there is a good place for that. Oh, Losh, you're moving to your own place? Awesome. Congratulations. Is this your first time moving out? The Tong Yuan Valley was situated beside the Xianxing Peak. According to the stories, during the Tang Dynasty, Zhang Guolao meditated there to become a deity. There was also a big rock on Hangshan with a lot of donkey hoof marks on it. And the stories say that these hoof marks were made by the donkey ridden by Zhang Guolao. These donkey hoof marks were imprinted deeply in granite. If this were not done by a deity, then how could it have been done? Emperor Tang Xuanzong gave the title of Mr. Tong Yuan to Zhang Guolao. The name of Tong Yuan Valley was taken from this. Tongyuan Valley was not far from Xianxing Peak, which was where the convent was located. But from the valley to the peak, the mountain path was dangerous. Ling Huchong arranged the living quarters for these Jianghu heroes at Tongyuan Valley so that there would be separation between males and females, so as to avoid slanders. Fang Jiang nodded his head and said, "Oh, that's very good. These friends are joining the Hangshan school and agreed to abide by the Hangshan school's terms. This is really a joyful occasion in Wulin." Yue Hao realized that his opponents had increased in numbers when he saw Great Master Fang Zhang talking like this. It seemed that today he would not be able to stop Ling Huchong from becoming the headmaster of the Hangshan school. So he proceeded to convey Zuo Lingchan's second task. Oh, you're a first time home buyer. Hey, congratulations. That's awesome. Yeah. It's a big responsibility to own a home. There's a lot of things to do too. Like mowing the lawn. Oh god. Oh, but you're in a condo, right? So you don't need to mow the lawn. All right. Give me 5 minutes. Guys. Been reading for a while. All right, give me 5 minutes. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. I like this comment. Pay someone to mow. It is scary to use a lawnmower. What is what is so scary about a lawnmower? A lawnmower is not scary at all. I mean, like it's loud. It's loud. What's so scary about using a lawnmower? I remember one time. You know what's scary? It's the weed whacker. Those weed whackers, holy shit. So I remember one time when my dad was using a weed whacker. He was holding it and he was talking to my mom, and I think he handed it over to my mom because he was doing something, and my mom um accidentally squeezed the trigger, right? He accidentally turned it on, and it was situated right next to his leg, right? The weed whacker was right next to his leg, and she turned it on, and bam! It smacked his leg just for a little bit, and he was like, ah, and then the gigantic like flash appears across his leg, like it was totally bleeding. So those things are freaking dangerous. Like you got to remember to keep those things away from you. Yeah, he was okay, but it showed a mark though. You had a push mower? Oh god, how effective are the push mowers? I don't I wouldn't think that they're that effective. Yeah, I've never used that before. I've only used the ones that run on gas. Hey Quizler, well, I'm glad you like my stories and videos. Thanks a lot. Yeah, weed whackers are way more dangerous than the lawnmower. They spit rocks at you. Which one? The weed whackers? Yeah, they do. All right. Luckily, she didn't catch the femoral artery. It it didn't. Okay, it didn't like go through. It didn't like chop his leg off, right? Right? It pierced skin somewhat, a little bit, right? It pierced skin enough to for there to be a like big, a gigantic red mark. Yeah, but it wasn't like he was like totally bleeding and had to go to the hospital. Yeah, yeah. For my dad, if it's like if it's not life threatening, he wouldn't go to the hospital because he's a man. A man. All right, all right. Let's see what this guy wants. He coughed to gain attention and said in a clear voice, Five Mountain Sword School's Chief Zhuo has an order. On the 15th of the third month, all five mountain sword schools must send their disciples to Songshan to elect the headmaster of the Five Mountains School. Everyone must attend and must arrive on time. Li Hucheng asked, Whose idea is it to combine the Five Mountains Sword Schools into one? Yue Ho answered, Songshan, Taishan, Huashan, and Hangshan schools have all approved of this. If your Hangshan school objects, then you would be openly making things difficult for the other four schools, and you'll only be asking for trouble. Oh, looks like they kind of succeeded in combining the schools. He then turned around towards the Taishan school's disciples and asked, Do you not think that this is the truth? The tens of people standing behind him answered together, That's right. Yue Ho laughed coldly and turned around to leave. After a few steps, he turned his head around to look at Ying Ying. He thought, How do I get back those five command flags? Blue Phoenix laughed. Teacher Yue, now that you've lost these flags, how can you return to Headmaster Zuo? It'd be better if I return it to you. After she said this, she tossed the flag at him. When Yue Ho saw the little flag flying towards him, he thought, This is your five poison flag, not the five mountains command flag. Why would I want it? However, the flag had almost reached his throat, so he quickly extended his hand to catch it. As soon as he caught it, he suddenly called out loudly and hastily dropped it. His palm felt like it was on fire. He turned his palm over to take a look and saw that it had turned purple. He realized that there was poison on the pole of the flag, and he had been trapped by the Five Fairies sect. Feeling alarmed and angry, he angrily scolded, Witch! Blue Phoenix laughingly said, You call Headmaster Linghu and ask for his help, then I'll give you the medicine. Otherwise, your whole palm would rot. Hey Quizler, thank you for the $5. That's very nice of you. Sorry, not sorry for ad block. Hey, we don't say that word around here, okay? Yeah, keep up the great vids. Thanks. Yueho knew of the severity of the Five Fairies sect's poison. In his hesitation, he felt his palm getting numb and losing feeling. His whole lifetime's martial arts was in his two palms. If they were to rot, and he would become a cripple. This made him frightened with worries. He quickly called out, Headmaster Linghu, you. Blue Phoenix laughed and interrupted him. Ask for help. Headmaster Linghu, I offended you. I ask you to please give me the medicine. Ling Hu Chong smiled and replied, Lady Blue, Brother Yue was only doing what Headmaster Zuo ordered. Please, give him the medicine. Blue Phoenix laughed and waved her hand towards a meow girl standing beside her. That meow girl took a packet out from her bosom, walked forward a few steps, and tossed the packet to Yue Ho. Yue Ho grabbed it in a hurry, and the crowd erupted in laughter. He quickly walked down the mountain, followed by his people. Ling Hu Chong announced in a clear voice, Friends, since you all agreed to reside at the Hangshan's other courtyard, you must also comply with the school's commandments. These commandments are actually not hard to follow, but the fifth commandment of never making friends with evils is a bit troublesome. But from today onwards, everyone has become Hangshan school members. And since the Hangshan school's disciples are naturally not evil, you must take care in making friends when you're outside the school. The crowd boomed their acknowledgement. Ling Huchang went on, "You can still drink wine and eat meat, but from now on, anyone who's not a vegetarian cannot come to the Xianxing Peak anymore." Fang Zhang cupped his hand and said, "Good, good. You must never desecrate the sacred ground of Buddha." Ling Huchang laughed. "All right, just regard that I've now become the headmaster. Everyone's belly must be feeling hungry now. Quickly, get the vegetarian dishes out. I'll accompany Shaolin's abbot, Wudong's headmaster, and all the other seniors in eating. I'll drink wine with everyone else tomorrow." A meow girl. A meow, meow, meow girl. After they finished eating, Fang Zhang said, "Headmaster Linghu, this old monk and Chong Shu have a few words to discuss with you." "Yes," Ling Hu Chong answered. He thought in his heart, "The headmasters of the current top two schools in Wulin came to Hangshan today. They certainly have something important to say. With dragons and snakes mixing together on top of Xianxiang Peak, no matter where we speak, it's unavoidable that walls will have ears." He immediately ordered Yihe, Yiqing, and the other disciples to entertain the guests. Then he turned towards Fang Zheng and Tongshu and said, "Down at the back of this mountain, there's a mountain besides the porcelain oven pass, which is called Mount Cui Ping. This mountain has a mirror-like cliff, and on top of it is a hanging temple. This is the panorama unique to Hangshan. If the two seniors are interested, please allow this junior to lead you there." Priest Changshu happily answered, "I've long heard that the Hanging Temple on Mount Ping was built around the Northern Song Dynasty. Pine trees can't grow there, and not even monkeys can climb up there. Someone had already, Someone had really exerted a lot of effort in building a temple in the clouds. That's really a marvel in this world. I've admired it for a long time already, and really like to see it." Done. Ah, that's the 52nd chapter. Woo. We're in the last third now, boys and girls. Like things are about to get interesting. All right, how was it? You guys like the chapter? All right. Okay, you guys, how am I gonna finish this? I don't know. Do this. Ew. Freaking scallop. That was short. Not really. We're at 7:30 around there. It was pretty good aside from the genital mutilation. Yeah, yeah. People took that like when he said that his pee got cut off. Like he wasn't being very dramatic about it, and people didn't really react to it that strongly. Oh yeah, yeah, he got his dick cut off. It happens. It happens in this world. Rip the Tian Bo Guang's member. Oh yeah, that's Let's do a bell toll for Tianbo Guangzi's member or half. All right. What's up, Derp Doggo? Going. The first chapter was read June 21st last year. Oh, almost a year. That's true. Like 52 weeks. All right. Cheers. He was an evil rapist. He had it coming. He did have it coming. He won't be coming anymore. Unfortunately. I need to look that up. Like, if you cut it in half, would it still work? I'm assuming that it still works. We'll have micro. All right. Well, that's it. Thanks for listening, you guys. And I'll see you. Gallop still. All right. I'll see you next week. All right. I love you. Bye.